Hey guys, to celebrate Denis Villeneuve's newest movie Dune, I wanted to make a video talking about some of my favorite movies of his. This is the Denis Villeneuve Conversation. Today we're going to be talking about Enemy from 2013, Arrival from 2016, and Blade Runner 2049 from 2017. Let's begin! Enemy, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, and Jake Gyllenhaal. This is one of the most confusing movies I've probably ever seen, with a plot that introduces one man as the main character meeting a look-alike of himself, and then coming to discover what really is reality and what is their relationship. Why are they so similar, down from the scars that they have on their bodies and specific places and facial structures. The only thing that would be different is one is a little more unkept and one is a bit nicer, polished, and better groomed and well dressed. One is a history professor and understanding that he's not at the top of the totem pole. And you have his counterpart, who he discovers from watching a movie at home one day is an actor and is living a much different life than he is, one that he envies. And as the history professor, Jake Gyllenhaal character, seeks to meet out this other character, Jake Gyllenhaal, who's a successful actor with a wife who you learn is pregnant and living in a very nice penthouse on the nicer side of Toronto, the area where this is set. You understand the differences that the men have from each other, but also what they envy about each other. You see a lot of intrigue built throughout this movie. It is a thriller by all means. You're understanding more about each of these characters up until the very last moment, when it's a bit too late to know what their motives are, because you've seen what their actions have enabled them to do to one another, but also the people in their life. It's an interesting story about the duality of man and the humanism, and telling a story about two enigmatic men meeting and crossing paths and blurring the lines really of reality and fiction. It's quite interesting. It's a little slow, and because it's a bit unexplained, there is actually, I believe, an NDA flying around at the beginning of when the movie came out, that the actors were physically not allowed to explain certain thematic elements of the movie. And so there's a lot of mystery that still floats around, like what exactly the spiders mean throughout the movie. What do they represent? How do you interpret the ending? How do you interpret the motivations all throughout the movie? But Enemy certainly is one of Jake Gyllenhaal's apex performances. He continues to be one of the most consistent actors in Hollywood. No matter what script is in front of him, no matter what screenplay, no matter what pacing, no matter which character, he has a way, as displayed in this movie, of stepping into the world and the role of which he needs to be in to do his part and to tell his story. Denis Villeneuve's direction on this is visceral and very hovering above reality, while still touching on extremely grounded humanistic feelings and themes throughout the story that unwinds of these two men meeting, coming to quarrel, and coming to fallout, and understanding how you relate to each one of these characters at different moments in your life, even when you don't want to. And so I'll give Enemy a 7 out of 10. Next up, we're going to talk about Arrival from 2016 with Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner. Arrival is a story about an alien ship touching down on Earth one day and the humans needing to communicate with it and understanding what their motives are, what they want. But at the core of it, it's about connection, humanity, and a lot of themes about trust and communication and the relationships we have with people. And we build on purpose because we want to create a way to bond with them and connect with them. Denis Villeneuve finds a way to take such a out of this world idea and ground it in a way that is so understandable. And you follow Amy Adams' character throughout this film, and her story in the unspoken ways is told with such heartfelt concern and depth of who she is, what she has to gain through this, and what she has to lose, and what she has already lost. And her partnership with Jeremy Renner, I wouldn't have guessed at first, I think, to be surprised, but Amy Adams is so committed and Jeremy Renner is so diverse with his range that, of course, they work well together. And you see a partnership beginning to bud and a friendship and a connection that is building and sewing itself together throughout the movie as they're trying to desperately understand and speak and communicate with these alien life forms, named affectionately Abbott and Costello. This story is a great reminder that our flaws are what makes us human, and our insecurities and our doubts and our fears is what connects us. And at the edge of our pain and at the depths of our sorrow, really, is where we can find understanding and deep connection with one another. It's a story about grief and hope and how those are interacted with others, even if they are aliens from another world. The connection that's heartfelt and is true and is honest runs deeper than human blood in this movie. Arrival is a visual spectacle playing with scale like I've never seen before, making you feel small, but yet understanding of what's happening in the scene at the same time. You understand where you are, how things would relate to you in the real world without feeling so galactic and sci-fi. In a film that touches a lot on outer worldly situations, it grounds it in such a personable way throughout the story that helps you better understand the characters by the end of the film and truly feel sorry for them and hope for them. I give Arrival an 8 out of 10. Finally, let's talk about Blade Runner 2049 from 2017, starring Ryan Gosling. Blade Runner 2049 is one of the most interesting sequels or follow-up movies that I've ever seen. I wouldn't believe it if you had told me until I had seen it. Could I only come to understand that Denis Villeneuve's style with the character and the brilliance that he brings to a visual story that's absolutely heart-shattering of humanity and what it means to make us human and what it means of our lives and our memories and our connections and how we can bring the most out of them to create a life of our own and holding on to those and creating our own hope and our own journey for ourselves in those memories and in those relationships. This picks up perfectly in the ongoing story of where the first Blade Runner left off. Ryan Gosling brings one of his most, if not the most powerful performance of his career. He absolutely is gripping in every scene that he's in and every line that he delivers. You understand perfectly the feelings, the emotions, and the thoughts that are coming through him in every interaction and every scene that he's in. You are feeling right there with him. That credits a lot to the story and how it's taking place and where it picks up along the Blade Runner journey. Ryan Gosling isn't the only standout performance, though. Denis Villeneuve manages to pull out spectacular performances from Dave Bautista and Ana de Armas. They both inhabit their roles so perfectly that you're never distracted from the story. You're only more invested in what's happening moving forward. Dave Bautista really surprised me in this role. Besides seeing him in other films before, I wasn't sure he had it in him to sell the character. But you fully believed in what he was doing and who he was, and you really felt for him. And for the amount of time that he had on screen just opening the movie, I was already sad to see him go. He was great in his role in a way where you were excited to see where the rest of the story went. You weren't just fixated on the empathy that you're feeling already for his character, but you're interested in what has yet to happen to Ryan Gosling, Kay, throughout the rest of the story, and where is he going as he continues to build on these artifacts of information that he seems to be digging up from the past, more about who he is and where he came from and what exactly he's doing. And when he learns this, what will he do with this information? And Ana de Armas is introduced and then is a mainstay throughout the film and is absolutely captivating. I remember seeing her and looking her up and thinking, there's no way she's not a superstar yet. She is enthralling and interesting in her role as Joy, and makes it truly heartbreaking when you see how her character's story end at the end of the story. And of course, Harrison Ford coming in at the 11th hour of this story and absolutely stealing scenes. It was crazy to see him returning from the original Blade Runner, and it was even more satisfying on that note to see this whole story progress and emerge in such a way that is a continuation of something that we already cared about from the original, and not just how much it could have been a retreading or even something familiar. But there are truly liberties being taken from this movie of a visual world that it's creating and the emotion that it evokes with the consequences throughout this film, and how it continues to separate itself from its predecessor while not drifting too far off and not flying too close to the sun. Denis Villeneuve lands this ship perfectly in the continuation and the conclusion of Deckard's story from the original Blade Runner, and how Ryan Gosling's character is left so satisfied and overwhelmed that it is just the same emotions that you feel as the viewer watching this. It is the most beautiful film I've ever seen. The attention to detail is remarkable and unprecedented. I give Blade Runner 2049 a 9 out of 10. So, thank you guys for watching. If you've seen any of these films, let's talk about it. Get at me in the comments below or hit me up somewhere online. I'd love to know more about what you've thought of these. They're interesting and they're new and they're not for everybody. It's a very bold approach. It's a very stylistic approach. And those things are what make me excited to see more Denis Villeneuve movies in the future. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.